Weekly Renewal is brought to you by Calvo Select Care.
Half a day, I'm Reyna Calvo bringing you your weekly renewal. Today I am here with my sister Reyna Calvo. Aside from being my beautiful sister, among many other things, she is a licensed therapist and a life coach. And to be completely authentic and transparent with you, I wasn't sure if weekly renewal would happen this week, so soon after the passing of our father. However, with Reyna being on Guam and being a therapist and a life coach, I thought it'd be great to have her on to talk about grief and loss and just how to work through emotions in general. So thank you so much, Reyna, for being here. I know this was last minute, but thank you for being here to talk about this important topic. So as a counselor, therapist, and life coach, what are some ways that you cope with loss, with grief?
I have gone through a lot of losses in my own personal life, and that has always been a catalyst for me to seek out different modalities, different tools on how to do that self-counseling, healing process, and to be able to bring that to clients. I find most effective to use a lot of the creative arts, be it narrative writing, using art, using sound. So again, which I've mentioned in a lot of my workshops, is emotion is just energy in motion, and it's knowing a constructive way of moving through those emotions so they don't get stagnant in our energetic field and we don't suppress them. I can read all the books and learn all the things. We can all learn things through books, but ultimately the answers reside within you. And that everyone's curriculum is going to be different, unique, and for that to be honored and respected.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's why I thought this was perfect, because this is an experiential process right now. You know, like you said, it's one thing to talk about things, to kind of conceptualize, but when you're actually in it and feeling it and going through the motions, you could speak from that standpoint of experiencing it. What are some daily things that might help going through it?
Well, in the connecting, which is so important, I also do want to mention the stages of grief. We all go through them differently, and not everyone is into connecting. Some people are in isolation, and for them to honor they need that. They need their own space. So there's denial, there's isolation, there's blame and anger, there's bargaining, and there's acceptance and healing. When we speak about connection with others, it's so important to find a support group or people that we connect with, even if it's just one friend or even an animal, something that we can connect with. But ultimately, it's our connection with Source, whatever God, whatever name that you identify with, the Holy Spirit, higher source, and really connecting into that higher consciousness, that higher self. I mean, that's
right. I often wonder how people sit with, if you don't believe in a higher source or a higher power or God, that I can imagine being quite challenging to, even more challenging to deal with the finality of what it would seem to be death.
Yeah, I can't speak for others who don't have that. I will say though, it's opened my perception, because ultimately I remember speaking to someone in the military, and I was I found it really interesting that the way they approached life after seeing so much death in the battlefield, there was more zest for living. There was more, I'm going to make every moment count and not sweat the small stuff, because I've seen big stuff. Right. And so there's a greater appreciation for being in this body and being able to cherish every moment, because they had so much death
and they've
around
seen
them.
A lot, So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time for part 2 of this segment with Reyna Calvo.
Weekly Renewal is brought to you by Calvo Select Care.